Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds. And today I'm hanging out with, I got Barker in the house, Matt Click, and Tim Kearney may or may not be popping in from time to time from Absolute Tabletop. And we're going to be talking about an RPG called Starforged, which is actually, to me, is like kind of in itself kind of a really cool story. So I want to throw it to you, Matt, and what is like Starforged and Ironsworn to you?
Played any of the Apocalypse World.
I'm so sorry, you were muted on my end.
Oh
no! Let's just look at the chat. They're like, I can't hear Matt.
I was doing really good too.
It was so good. You guys have no understanding of what you just missed.
Oh man. Okay. No, I get what many people do not get: a second chance. I get to go again. Okay.
Yeah, was the this time again with feeling from the top.
Yes. Yes. What did I start with? Not very many people know this because we use different last names, but Sean Tompkin, the designer of Ironsworn, is my dad. And he designed Ironsworn just in his spare time as as he had time over a few years. And he sent me this email a few years back that was like, hey, check this out. What do you think? And he sent me the Ironsworn PDF. And I just remember being like, when did you have time to do this? Like, where did this come from? I didn't know you were working on this. But Ironsworn is sort of very similar to like Powered by the Apocalypse games. It uses moves as its sort of main resolution mechanic. So if you're familiar with like Apocalypse World or any of its offshoots and clones and ancestors, predecessors, whatever, you'll see a lot of similarities, but Ironsworn is also kind of its own beast. And it's designed specifically to be able to be played without a game master. And that's sort of a new concept for a lot of people, like a solo RPG or something that you can play co-op without a GM. But Ironsworn is kind of built around this system that allows for that with the moves and then these roll tables called oracles, which kind of help you like figure out what's going to happen next. And Ironsworn sort of became wildly popular just mostly through word of mouth, just people picking it up saying, hey, this is really cool. This is something special. Like, check it out. You know, people sharing it on Reddit, people sharing it on social media. Eventually, like some of the bigger names got a hold of it and were talking about it and really sort of got it out into the tabletop RPG zeitgeist. I actually co-wrote a supplement with him called Delve a couple of years ago that is kind of like dungeon focused, getting into like ruins and perilous sites and stuff. See, Barker's got his copy right there. And now we're kind of taking it one step further, and Sean is partnering with us, Absolute Tabletop, as a publisher to co-publish Ironsworn Starforged, which is kind of like the sci-fi sort of evolution of Ironsworn. So it's taking the foundation of Ironsworn and it's refining the mechanics, making some changes based on how the original Ironsworn plays and putting it in a sci-fi universe. And it's on Kickstarter right now and it's doing really, really well. We're really excited about it.
Yeah, as always, there's links in the description. And no, we are not ignoring Barker. I just thought it's interesting because you guys had that story where it's, you're in the industry and now your dad has produced his first product, and it did really
Yeah,
well too. So really, all your success might have come from him. Like, you got all of his RPG
yeah,
genes.
yeah. We have RPG designer blood running through our veins
Yeah.
apparently, but it's fun. I mean, he was my first game master growing up, so he's always been tinkering with game design and different things. And I mean, he's been a game designer all his life, even if just now he's actually putting products out there. So
So what is the role of Absolute Tabletop with Starforged now?
do you want to talk about this, Parker?
Sure. Yeah. Absolute Tabletop over the past 5 years has learned a lot, and a lot of that information has come the hard way. Realizing, we need to put a blank page at the end of our books as soon as we open a package and see a book with all the pages on the wrong side, and think, well, I guess this isn't really a good proof to send out to people. Or ink density. That's a thing. Do you not want your books just dripping with soaking, sopping ink? I highly recommend you Google that. That is the nuttest of nutshells. Within it is so much information that we garnered that Sean didn't necessarily have coming to the table. What Sean had coming to the table is, like Matt said, a preview edition of an RPG, which is a joke. That's an RPG. It's a fully made RPG. It's called a preview edition because there's more going to be added to it. But the coolest part of the preview is you get it when you back, and it's done. I mean, that's an RPG there, and it's huge. So we're helping with the shipping, the fulfillment of the Kickstarter, ensuring that everything happens on time and that no one is waiting because of delays due to unforeseen circumstances. Absolute Tabletop has been on the receiving end of that, of realizing halfway through creating a book that this isn't the book that we really want to create for people. This isn't the book that we feel proud of. And so we're going to go back to the drawing board, and we ended up extremely thankful for backers who were patient with us. And now that we have that knowledge, we know what it takes in terms of time, money, effort, and honestly, patience, knowing the obstacles, knowing where the icebergs are far before you reach them. So we're bringing that to the table. We're also bringing editing to the table. We're bringing the backer. I always call it the backer kit. It's our pledge manager. James Carney has invented a pledge manager, and that we've used from Kickstarter to Kickstarter. And like our company, that's evolved into something really, truly glorious. And also writing. We're doing writing for the book as well. We're helping write. I just finished some monsters the other day. I don't know if I want to spoil anything. We didn't actually get any sort of approval before this, but like,
I was just gonna say, I think you're good to talk about all the stuff that you're working on, Barker. I don't really think there's anything that's like hush hush at this point. But
It
yeah,
sounds like
we're
it sounds like
go
you
ahead,
didn't get
Dave.
a disapproval either, though.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
The way you think, I like it. I'll say this, Sean, Matt, we all love the movie Alien, and what is a science fiction game without some sort of nod to a Xeno? And I got finished. Finished with the first draft of writing that up just the other day, and I'm really excited to see that happen in a game.
Yeah, is this the biggest Kickstarter you guys have been a part of? And as always, folks, links are in the description in case I forgot to mention that. Go check it out. Because, you guys already you're closing in on 5,000 backers, $250,000. I know I worked with the Kearneys on our Kickstarter, which was a little bit more than that. It looks like you guys will definitely pass, where we got to. So that's awesome, especially for your dad's first Kickstarter out the door. Is he ready to quit his job yet?
Yeah. I'm answering it for you. He said it yesterday. No, he's not going to quit his job.
No, he's not. He's definitely blown away though. My dad is very like humble, and he's constantly like downplaying how popular Ironsworn is and how much people love it and stuff. And with the Kickstarter, he's like, we set a goal of 15 grand, which was kind of like the base level. I mean, you've done Kickstarters before, Dave, so you kind of figure out like where's our like break even, like
it's the bare minimum. Yeah.
Like how much money do we need to make if we don't want to lose out on money, sort of thing. And so 15 grand was our sort of cutoff. And he was like, I hope we'll hit 15 grand, but even if we don't, I'll probably still do Starforged. It just won't be as big as it's going to be. And we kept telling him like, it's going to be a lot bigger than 15 grand. I don't think you realize, and so I think he's blown away by it, very humbled, and excited. He's excited to work on this book and get it out to so many people. So, and we are too. This is the biggest Kickstarter we've ever been involved in.
So what are the core mechanics for Starforged?
So the basic core mechanic of the die roll is you have a D6 and 2 D10s. The D6 is your action die. The D10s are the challenge dice. You give those a roll. You add any applicable modifiers to the D6, and then try to beat the D10s. The D10s kind of rolling the 2 dice together is a fun mechanic because you could roll the D10s low and the D6 high. You could roll one of the D10s high, one of the D10s low, and so the amount of success that you get is based on how many of these D10s that you beat with that D6 plus the modifier. And like I said, it is very similar to Powered by the Apocalypse, and so you have these moves that allow you to kind of structure the narrative of the game within the mechanics, and so you're able to be very open. My daughter's talking to me.
No worries.
Hang on, Rowan. But it allows you to be very open and free with the narrative of the game, and then kind of structured around the mechanics of these moves. And so playing solo, playing co-op is very like seamless. You never feel like I don't know what to do next, or like I don't know what like the rules should call for, because it's all very just sort of baked into the moves of the game.
Yeah. So Rowan calls, Matt, do you answer the call?
Always.
Yes.
He must.
Yes.
He kneels
yes.
before her.
Yes.
That's super cool. Can you still get Ironsworn for free? Wasn't that free?
Yeah, Ironsworn is still totally free. It's on DriveThruRPG, as well as if you go to ironswornrpg.com, you can check it out. The PDF is totally free, and you can get print on demand on DriveThruRPG. We're also offering all of the legacy books, so Ironsworn and Delve, as add-ons in the Kickstarter, which will allow people to get it basically at cost.
Yeah, so like essentially, if people wanted to kind of see what to expect from Starforged, they could go download Ironsworn and get a kind of an idea for the rules, the mechanics.
Yeah, absolutely. And Barker mentioned this a little bit ago, but if you go back, Starforged, you get it's over 100 pages. It's the preview edition of the game, and it includes like the bulk of the basic mechanics. It includes all the like basic assets, ship stuff, exploration, all that kind of stuff. It allows you to play the game and really see how it's going to play in its finished form in this preview edition. And it's gorgeous. Like Barker said, it's a finished RPG product.
Yeah. So what kind of monsters are you working on, Barker, that we may or may not be allowed to talk about?
Okay, so there's one of the interesting, I'm gonna say problems, for lack of a better term right now. One of the interesting problems to solve is the level of science fiction. There's a lot of science fiction out there, and this isn't necessarily like Gundam Unicorn level science fiction. This isn't necessarily like Core Worlds Star Trek. And so it's finding that sweet balance where, like on the cusp of Firefly, where like what exists in this place, what exists in the Forge outside of having people as your enemies. Like, people are a really good enemy to have. So we like the idea of having these overly zealous, almost like Neo Crusaders to fight that will drop in front of your ship, knock out all the systems, and start boarding. That will take over an entire planet in the name of this one, hierarch. And the cool part about the way Ironsworn and Starforged work are that you can have, using kind of like small oracles or just little tables, or even if it's just flavor text that allows you to think a little bit more outside the box, this one enemy, this one foe can take dozens of different variations, dozens of different forms, from this honorable, I don't know, almost like 40K Space Wolves style, like melee fighting, raised banners sort of raider, to someone who is working on the behalf of some dark, awful, sinister, horrifying power from inside, from beyond the depths of the expanse. You have creatures, if we're talking about, you asked about monsters and I started talking about people, but people are my favorite monsters.
Well, I feel like, you just found
what
like
if
the nicest
people
way
were
to
the
say,
real monsters?
Yeah. I feel like you just found the nicest way to say, well, basically people are shitty. So, you need
Sure.
look no further.
Was that the nicest way, right? I'll tell you this. We had a lot of fun coming up with these creatures that through the evolutionary process float through space until they collide or detect valuable mineral deposits inside like asteroids, and then drill into them using these like hyper evolved heads to get those mineral deposits. But the problem with that is these creatures who sail, I guess you could say, through space, and while hibernating through the endlessness of space for decades, centuries, millennia, they don't know the difference between an asteroid and, say, your ship. And so all of a sudden these things start drilling in from the outside for the minerals, for the power core. That, it was a fun addition to make it so they kind of like get high off this power. So like they go to ships like moths to a lampshade a little bit. And once you take them out, like if you are defending your ship and, you kill one of these things and you have it, or capture one of these things, you not only can figure out what this thing is, but you have access to all these mineral deposits that it has collected over its endless lifespan. And so
people aren't going to try and exploit that at all.
No, that's the point. Let them. Too often it's like, oh man, the players are definitely going to exploit it. And I think inverting, and this is what Ironsworn and Starforged and just any game that opens that rift for you, it turns that table to where you're thinking, yeah, let's exploit that. How can a player, what can we give to a player? What can we give to this party that will not only help them on their quest, but make it feel like they're gaining a bunch of cool stuff along the way. And lastly, that the GM is on their side. That's the thing about the Oracle tables. That's the thing about solo play, is that it feels like a cooperative game, even when it's guided. I love that Sean calls it guided play, not run by other person, but it's still collaborative, even when one person is the game master.
Well, when you say they drill into things with their head, it just makes me think of like the worst space unicorn ever. It's a unicorn made out of these minerals. I just got a great
idea for the name for these things.
With a drill instead of a horn.
Unicorns. Yep, my idea. You heard it here.
So it sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like you're having fun creating for Starforged. What is the favorite thing you've come up with?
Matt,
been tasked with.
We haven't my daughter has some thoughts about it. We haven't actually finished the design of this yet, but I have a big long list of monster ideas that we've kind of been adding to, and Barker and I are kind of chipping away at this list of monsters. And one of the ones that I'm really excited to do is I had this idea for a spacesuit mimic type creature. So obviously not called a mimic, but basically a mimic inside a spacesuit. So you see, you go into a derelict ship and you see someone standing there in a spacesuit, and you're like, "Hey, are you okay?" And you're shining the flashlight through these like darkened derelict ship hallways, and then the suit kind of turns in this weird like marionette sort of fashion, and you see it's not actually a person in a spacesuit. It's like this weird organic like mimic type creature that then shoots tendrils out of the sleeves of the spacesuit.
Matt,
I'm really
for
excited
someone
for
who
that.
doesn't watch Doctor Who, you make really good Doctor Who enemies. Really good.
I love space horror so much. Like, it's one of my favorite like pocket genres, like Alien, Event Horizon, all that kind of like Sunshine. That is absolutely my wheelhouse. So it's really fun to think about what sorts of horrifying things you would find when you cut open, the hull of a derelict or go into like an ancient alien ruin or something like that.
Yeah, that is super cool. What's it like working with your dad on on projects like this? Did you ever anticipate something like that happening?
Yeah, my dad and I have always like tinkered on things together. We've like written things together, and I mean, there have been a few times where we've like designed things for games together. Different, if there's an RPG that we want to play that doesn't really exist, we'll be like, well, what if we take this and kind of, futz with it. And so we have worked together on kind of like a more casual, like hobby sort of situation. And then working with him on Delve was really cool because, he is an incredibly talented game designer. And I've been writing for a long time and editing for a long time. And so I actually feel like I'm able to like add to the project. Rose, sweetie, I need to finish my sentence, please. Thank you. But working with him on Starforged, like with Absolute Tabletop, has been such a trip because it's like a worlds collide situation where it's like, okay, here's Absolute Tabletop, who I work with every day. Here's my dad, who like is my dad, and like now let's put them together. And I have to say, it has been absolutely delightful to be in like Zoom meetings with the Absolute Tabletop guys, like making the jokes that we usually make and just like chit chatting and bullshitting, and having my dad there like joining in is like just delightful. I've loved it.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a cool process. It sounds so foreign and bizarre to me because I'm on the other end of it, like being the dad, like getting your kids into RPGs, and my son is like totally a filthy casual, at best.
That's I'm a dad now too. My daughter is almost 3, so obviously she's not quite at the game design stage yet,
Yeah.
though she's getting there. But I think about like, man, it would be really cool to be able to like collaborate on something creative with her someday, whether it be like music or games or writing or whatever. It's just a cool thing, and I enjoy that creative collaboration probably more than anything else in the world. And so being able to work on the project with my dad, somebody who I already know, who I already get along with and already like enjoy talking with and working with, like, is a cool sort of opportunity for me that not a lot of people get. So
do you guys have any in-house games going on?
Oh yeah. Do you mean like with Absolute Tabletop?
Yeah, Absolute Tabletop. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of stuff on the back burner at the moment. Parker, do you want to talk about our next project after this one?
Do you mean project or like actual games that we're running?
We can go in either direction.
Well, I'd like to talk about project because I don't think we have any games. Do we play games, Matt?
No, we often forget to play games. We make games and then don't play them, but
right. We get caught up in the next cool idea. The thing about the creative mill. Oh, actually, I love this term. Sean Tompkin, TM, grist for the mill, right? Is that we just move on because the fire becomes hot somewhere else. We've got a lot of stuff in the room that we open and see all of the, the boxes of ideas.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like how I always imagine it, like an attic where it's like going in there and, being like dusting this up. What's this? And then Sharpie written on the box, it says like Doom FPS RPG. And then I'm like, what is this? And Matt is like, oh, Tim and I had an idea a while back. Yeah, put that back in there. But you know what? That's a good idea. Let's talk about that a little bit.
That's the best analogy for like our Google Drive that I've ever heard.
Yeah. It's an attic. We recently insulated it, but there's spiders. I'm afraid sometimes to go in there. We're actually working right now, on our next adventure kit. We've done an adventure kit in Dragon Grin. That was our first one. We did an adventure kit in Gloam, which was like a setting that I believe Matt and Tim came up with, Gloam. And we are working on the first Enkea adventure kit. Enkea is like a hyper magic world where the classical era and the Industrial Revolution have shown the people of the world just how dangerous, how thermonuclear, for lack of a better term, magic can be in the wrong hands. And everyone created a society that protected itself from itself. And the adventure kit is going to be called The Battle for Arctur's Vault. And it's a battlefield centerpiece set in a kind of forested area. And we're going to play a little bit with weather and climate. And it's kind of on its base level, it's subterfuge and investigation, but it's got that dial, that battlefield dial that you can turn up and make it absolute battlefield chaos if you'd like. Musketry and sabers clashing at long last.
I can't decide if that world has a lot of magic or no magic in it from your description you just gave me.
Both. Good. Good.
Both. I was going to say, each of our adventure kits kind of has a like overarching sort of theme. Like I feel like Oath was very much like dungeons, like delving into dungeons. So this is very dungeon centric. Shadows over Drift Chapel was like horror, investigation, like Call of Cthulhu type stuff. This one is very much like battles, war, like intrigue, stuff like that. Like it's very grand in its scope, but very focused in like the story that's being told. So I'm like, it has been so fun to work on it so far, and like I can't wait to continue working on it. So that's going to be a really fun project.
I'll tell you what, Ironsworn Starforged has been really inspiring for the cinematic battle mass combat mechanics that we're working on, which and it just inspiring in that it sets that tone of, as Matt was talking about with the die mechanics and the openness of the oracles. The oracles are my favorite part of Ironsworn. The ability to create an environment that fosters more creativity, even if you just have one person there. That's been exciting. It's kind of like the perfect mesh of projects that just kind of feed into each other.
You guys also did Mecha Hack not that long ago that was pretty successful as well.
Yeah, we did. The Kickstarter for the mission manual was we just wrapped that up, and we're actually I think I'm getting another print proof of that today, actually. But that was really a fun project to work on, and that was kind of the first time that we'd really brought on a team of freelancers, like intentionally. We've worked with freelancers a ton in the past, but this was the first project that, like, from the get-go, we were like, we're going to hire this team to write these one-page missions for the Mecha Hack, and that was a lot of fun. And the Mecha Hack, is such a lightweight, simple rule system. I think the original book is like 80 pages max, or no, I think it's like 40 pages. This one is like 100 something pages. So the supplement for the main book is like 3 times as thick as the main book, just because it's so chock full of fun stuff. So
yeah, and
that says a lot. Yeah.
What is Mecha Hack?
So Mecha Hack is a lightweight rule system for playing mecha games. So Gundam, Voltron, even more like Western mecha, like Mech Warrior Battletech type stuff. I've talked with people who use it to run 40K games, like with people playing Terminators and stuff. It's based on like OSR D&D very slightly. More so, it is based on the Black Hack, which is a wonderful little rules light OSR system that I have a lot of love for, with very simple like roll under resolution and stuff like that. Mecha Hack takes the bones of that, the foundation, and really builds a super simple, flexible, easy to learn game on it. And the reason why I made Mecha Hack and the reason why it is the way that it is because there was nothing out there that allowed me to run like impromptu mecha games. All the mecha tabletop RPGs were like, okay, and now it's time to design your left arm. And it's like, that's
stack
great.
Of books like this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's great if that's what you're looking for, because like for me, like sometimes if I'm, wanting to really get into the nitty gritty of mecha, that's perfect. But I needed something that I could just like slap on the table and have people make characters in like 2 minutes and be playing in 5. And that's really what Mecha Hack was designed for.
It's also, and I think Matt would say this as well, that based around David Black's The Black Hack created that perfect spot. I've used the word environment for it, but I think it's a good term for creativity because it's all about kind of the feel of your surroundings. And David Black's Black Hack offered that perfect pedestal from which the Mecha Hack could be built on. It says a lot about the core rules and how sleek and simple they are. With what Matt said, how the rule book is this thick and the supplement is this thick, but we used it to run a Star Wars Starfighter game. You can really do anything with it. And it's so on point. And it definitely came from the mind of a person who knows what kind of weapons mecha have and can put all of them in one tiny little book. Unbelievable.
I remember I was sitting there watching Gundam 08th MS Team, just sitting on my couch, middle of the night, and thinking, I need a system to be able to run this, man. I want to run this game. And just like pulling out my laptop and just starting work on it. So those to me are the most like fun projects to work on. Those like spur of the moment, just like lightning hits you and you're like, I'm going to do this. And you just like start cranking on it. A lot of the times those projects kind of fizzle and die because you lose momentum, but for some reason I stuck with it for Mecha Hack. So
you guys aren't exactly strangers to when it comes to like sci-fi in your games.
No, we've got a lot of stuff. Matt, you should talk about Harbinger a little bit. Listen, what's interesting, like I mentioned before, it's the fusion of the projects that you're working on that they begin to play off of each other. So it's perfect that we're talking about Starforged, and we're here to talk about Starforged because, yeah, Matt has this 5e Harbinger, like in the back of the attic. It's actually more in the front of the attic. We're not talking about a board game size box. We're talking about the box you keep the Christmas tree in. It's like this huge, ready to go. And I'm sorry, I got to say it, Matt, but like you are just like your dad in that your playtest packets are virtually full RPGs. So talk about Harbinger.
Yeah, I could talk about Harbinger. So Harbinger is a science fantasy setting and sort of how I'll phrase it, it's a science fantasy setting that is powered by 5th edition. And so my daughter's going to start a concert now. Nice. If you want to listen in, I'll go into the living room. But the basic idea is that I've been working on this for many, many years, ever since they announced the 5th edition open gaming license. I've wanted to do something science fantasy with 5th edition. It's really become a beast all its own. It's very loosely based on 5th edition now, like the classes, the magic, the items, everything kind of works a little bit differently than it does in stock 5th edition. We have a beta rules packet that is out on our website I think we put that out last August, and we're going to be updating it this summer with some new stuff. So if you go to absolutetabletop.com, you can download the free Harbinger beta rules. And like Barker said, they look really nice. They have art and layout. We started it as a Google Doc that we just like shared around with people, and now it's a full-on PDF with art, and it's really gorgeous. So
yeah, I think Ted had run through a game run on Mini Domain Terrain's channel.
Yeah, I think I actually came on here when we first started working on Harbinger to talk to you about it, Dave, and that was many, many years ago. So it has been a project all that time. I'm just kind of working on it on and off, and that's most likely going to be our next like big sort of headline project after Archer's Vault. Is we're going to be moving into Harbinger mode and likely trying to kickstart that later this year or early next.
Nice. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I know Ted said he had a lot of fun playing the game and enjoyed it. So I can't wait to see what the final product looks like. Maybe.
Hey, me too.
Has any of your thinking on Harbinger changed since you've worked on Starforged?
You know, I can't say that it has a ton, which is interesting to me because I would have thought that it would have, but the settings have a lot of similarities, but they're also very, very different. Harbinger is definitely a little bit more like mystic and esoteric and kind of like on the like Dune. What's on the other side of this spectrum? Star Trek, The Expanse. I'm not really sure. It's definitely weighted more on the Dune side of things, where it's kind of like I said, esoteric sci-fi. It doesn't really make a whole lot of logical sense to us, but it's this weird sort of mystical, magical space. So I'm getting ideas mainly of how to package things up and how to present a setting, and how to get people playing the game as quickly as possible while still getting a sense for the universe and how everything works. But in terms of like the settings, not so much, which is really, really interesting. And it might be that I'm just like, I have like a little bit of like I can't let this like influence Harbinger, like Harbinger is its own thing and Starforged is its own thing. But I think that Harbinger will be a much better product for me having worked on Starforged. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, it does.
Cool.
It's impossible for like our past experiences not to affect our future.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that Sean has such a great mind for not only game design, but like game engineering, that like, which is not a term that people use very often, but I think should be a term, because I feel like game design and game engineering are two sides of the same coin. And Sean is much more talented at game engineering than I am. And I feel like I'm just learning a lot from watching his process and seeing this book come together, and how the rules are presented and how the setting is presented, that I can't wait to use those ideas in my next project.
And when is the next season campaign of Provokers?
That's the number one question I get is Provokers, and the number two question I get is, where is campaign crafting? It was 6 years ago, guys. It's time to move on.
It's finally in the number 2 spot. Campaign crafting.
Yes. No, we will definitely be getting more Provokers going here soon. I'm currently taking a break from streaming games, which I'm not sure how long will last. It was just something that I just had to do, but Provokers will absolutely ride again sooner rather than later. Maybe we'll get a session on the docket for this summer.
Yeah, or maybe it's time to hand over the reins and let someone else run something. Maybe a Starforged game or some Harbinger campaign.
It's funny. I'm a player in a campaign that's being run by Jeremy Lilly over on Mini Terrain Domain, and that campaign has been such a blast. And it's been so long since I've been in a regular campaign as a player that I forgot what it felt like to be like excited about a game
Yeah.
and not like freaking out over the fact that I haven't prepped anything.
Well, like the gameplay that we started doing started as just an in-house team game, right? To like, okay, let's like play stuff together since we work together in this industry. And then we started doing the live stuff again at the beginning of the pandemic. And like, we're like, well, I guess we have the live channel. Maybe we should stream something over there. And, so that's how we started stream. So that our in-house game became our stream game. So Barker, you're also doing some freelancing and writing other places as well.
Yeah. Oh,
would you like to elaborate?
Sure. Yes.
He's like, no, not really. It's not our
first,
damn business.
I think we should all wish Tim, who has returned from the pink void, the salmon-colored void,
dun, dun, dun.
a happy anniversary of his 29th birthday. And we shall sing and dance and be merry. Dave already told us no singing on his channel. He said he would boot anyone who's
Yeah. And so, well, I'm just excited to talk at the very beginning about Starforged. So let's get started. No, I'm kidding. Just start from the top. I'm sure it'll be better the second time.
We'll hit the redo button. What's up, Barker? Tim? How you doing, man?
Dude, great. The campaign that we're a part of, I just want to jump in and say that like it's very surreal to be working with Sean. And when you look at Absolute Tabletop, it's 4 guys and there's a really nice Venn diagram of like where we all have this perfect sort of harmony and then other things we all bring to the table. And you wouldn't think that someone else would be able to fit over that Venn diagram just because of how well crafted it is. And then Sean comes into the picture and we work really well together as though he were a part of AbTab. And that's not as common because like what Matt said, he is a game engineer. So we have a bunch of amazing freelancers that we work with, but this is one of the first times for me that I'm looking to Sean and I'm like, I don't know. What do you think we should do? You seem to have a better handle on it. And so it's really cool because he gets to sanity check it against us. And then we give our opinions and kind of thoughts, but it's really neat to be working on this. So I'm doing great. I'm really, really happy that Starforged is getting the attention that I think it deserves for being a great system.
No, it is super awesome. And, so we touched on a little bit earlier. It's kicking ass for sure.
Yeah, it's surreal. I don't know if you guys saw this, but and you might have discussed it. Did you discuss the final stretch goals?
We haven't yet, actually. We didn't talk about. We have talked about everything except those final stretch goals. We were talking about Mecha Hack, Harbinger, Arthur's Vault. Like we're just like getting into the full. We're unpacking the AbTab attic, as Barker put it.
Yeah.
Well, we actually just released what the final few stretch goals would be, and there's 2 of them. One of them is a backer number upgrade. So like when we hit 5,000 backers, the hardcover book is going to get totally revamped. Heavier cover, heavier pages, red end papers, 2 ribbon bookmarks, a black one and a red one, and the asset cards that you use are going to be dry erase so that you can just write on the card, which is going to be super handy. And then Barker or Matt, I want you to tell Dave about the other stretch goal that we're very excited about. The second one.
I think Barker should talk about it.
I think so too.
Really? All right. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. No, I'm not. I'll take that torch and I'll keep it lit. The second stretch goal is the $300,000 stretch goal, which is, let me just be very clear, that was an insane milestone when the Kickstarter began. I'll never forget hitting $15,000 in 8 minutes and Sean having to turn off his camera. That was that was a really beautiful moment. And every time we think, or we get in a Zoom with Sean and talk about what's possible, everyone who's all the backers move the target and say, nope, haha, you thought that's what your goal was. You thought that's where your destination was. Well, here we are. We're about 50. We're almost to 250,000 unless we hit it in the last 10 minutes. But we're almost to 250,000. At 300,000, the first of potentially more Ironsworn worlds, the Sundered Isles, is created. This, and I think we should all talk about this a little bit, because there's a lot to it, but there's also a lot of personality to what this means. This means that the upgraded Starforged rule set, which is an upgraded rule set from Ironsworn, is also adaptable to a sword and sail, Age of Sail, swashbuckling adventure game, where instead of flying your Serenity around the galaxy, on this fringe sci-fi, almost low science sci-fi, low fantasy sci-fi setting, now you're doing it on shallow seas and finding islands stacked with buried treasure and dangling skeletons in cages and fending off pirates or being a pirate. Like there's it's now adaptable to a fantasy setting. And what that means is that there's a bridge now between Starforged and Ironsworn, because the Sundered Isles are created. And Tim, you should talk about this more, because this is a lot of it was sourced in your mind, created to be a part of the Ironsworn core setting. And the future potential Ironsworn worlds could not only be that bridge between the Starforged rule set and Ironsworn core, but also add new locations, new geographies, new centerpieces to an already gorgeous and really perfect as is continent, if you want to sail beyond the islands on the southwestern coast. If you want to leave that continent or have room for that in your campaign, you can now head over to the Sundered Isles, and in your I don't want to say standard, in your already running Ironsworn campaign.
Yeah, and the way that I thought of it was, because it's in AbTab, at least the way that we usually handle it is we write things so that you can do it however you want, and you have the tools to do it either way. We'll say, hey, here's a tip on how to include all this stuff in your game, and here's a tip on if you want to make your whole new thing with it. And it just struck me as the old World of Warcraft expansions, where when a new one would come out, a continent would just appear in the game. And I just thought how fun that would be if in the Ironsworn campaign that you're running, that your longboats go ashore, or that, you get caught in a storm, whatever it is, and you end up on the other side of the world, and there's this entire new place. So we are going to potentially write it so that they can exist together, where, musket and saber clashes with, axe and shield, or just make it standalone, and you'll be able to do either. This other opportunity that kind of presented was, we thought, how cool would it be to have Ironsworn Worlds Dragon Grin, and have like a Dragon Grin with the assets and whatever, a little play kit so that you could play in Dragon Grin or Ankea or anything, Harbinger. Like the possibilities are kind of endless, and this is an exciting collaborative jumping off point. Also, as we do this with Sean, we're going to learn how to do it, and then we can do more, which is kind of neat.
So this is kind of, a new thing for AppTab going forward, to kind of like connect and bridge all the worlds together.
Multiverse of madness, maybe.
Yeah. That's what I'm hearing. That's the vibe I'm getting.
I think we're just always so excited when there's a horizon and we're like, whoa, imagine what could be there.
Yeah.
Right? Like if this is one place, like just last night, Matt sent a message that said, I've already made 15 worlds. I need help. Someone help me, send help. We see the potential of such a really cool idea, and we jump on it. It starts a fire. I know I speak for everyone. And again, so much of working with Sean is kind of working with, in a sense, that gaming engineer, that genius that shows you, oh crap, look at all these horizons. Look at all this potential. Look at all these cool things that we can make. Look at all these cool games that we can play. And in a way, you can get lost in writing content. You can get lost in the creative industry and it will be spoiled for you. But working with Sean in a big way has reminded me of the kid that wanted to write games, of the kid that really enjoyed playing tabletop role-playing games. And some of that kid I thought was gone forever. And I thought maybe that's just what happens when you get older. But seeing that person again and realizing that right on the periphery, wow, oh, there it is. There's that passion, that hot iron ready for striking. And it's lighting fires that lend off sparks that light more fires. That's a really exciting feeling. And Ironsworn, Starforged, and the Sundered Isles, Ironsworn Worlds, that does that for me.
Nice. I mean, and it just goes to show, like, you think like everything's been done, and then you come up with like an idea to take you off into a new direction. And it's so awesome when we have these discoveries, because they do seem a lot rarer. Kind of like with you saying that, you're like, this is a part of me that I think was gone. And then it's like, oh, nope, still there, buried someplace.
Yeah. In the attic.
Yeah.
It's in the attic.
The Ab-Tab attic.
Yeah.
And in terms of like, is it formally connected? Is it not? And it's like, yes or no, depends on what person is running it. We always, at least the way that Ab-Tab handles it is, we give you the stuff and say, yeah, I hope you change it.
Yeah.
We're not the company that's like, hey, memorize this world at all. Like when I sit down to play in a Dragon Grin game, I ask the same questions as I would for any other game that's new to me. I'm like, okay, so how does this work in your world? I don't just assume that it's Dragon Grin. It's like, nah, make a cooler thing. here, change it, So yeah, it's really fun.
It's so funny. Barker just nearly got split in twain.
Yeah, I'm moving. No, don't move me. I moved over here now.
Matt got kicked. Matt got kicked. He sent us a message.
Yeah. His sound cut out for him.
I seen him popping in and out. So
wow.
At first I thought like it literally split the two boxes, and I was like, can I put them together?
That's what I was like. It's like a puzzle. It broke into 9 pieces, and you can only move one each this direction. Like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah.
Those old school little puzzles with the little car, and you got to navigate the car through traffic or something, or what? I don't know. That was maybe that's just me. Maybe that was a dream.
This is the joy of doing it live.
Yeah, it really is.
That's amazing.
It really is.
Yeah, and different internet carriers. We get to judge each other's internet carriers.
Judging.
So Barker, I've talked to you the least on here. Tim and Matt's been on a few times. Is there anything else you want to talk about, like other stuff that you're doing, that you want people to be aware of?
Did I mention it's Tim's birthday? I'd love to. I'll give you the option. You can hear some freelance projects I'm working on, or we can sing happy birthday to Tim for the first time, breaking the rule of your show.
Can I throw out a third option as the birthday boy?
Sure. Yes.
So what I think everyone watching should take a part of, and just, it's totally worth it. Barker has a Patreon that is very, very good for creativity. And it is called Ignite, Inspire the Story. And it's like guided creativity and handouts. And if you're like me, when you can do anything, you don't know what to do. So sometimes I like for somebody to go, hey, do this. And then I go, okay, cool, a travel system. All right, well, we're going to travel this session. So it's patreon.com / I think, is it Ignite? But it's definitely okay, / inspire the story. And so
he's been chatting away in the chat the whole time, and I didn't realize that was you.
I know no one does. I think it's funny because I'm going to psych people out and just probably end up changing it all to Barker. Whatever. That guy Barker.
Well, either way, it's just it's really affordable. And so, like, if nothing else, jump in, at one of those tiers and just get these things called embers, which are like idea starters. And we all want them, and we want them from a reliable source that is going to be good. So rather than going on Pinterest or Google, you can just go to the Patreon there and get the things you need for your next session. So that's the thing I would plug. But now, Barker, I'll throw it back to you for whatever else you want to do.
Sure. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. That's one of the things that I enjoy is helping other people because I'm really good at hearing someone else's idea and being like, ooh, here's a couple more options, and that so far has been really helpful for others. May is free because it's also my birthday month. Tories represent, I guess.
Tories.
I don't know what that means. I think it means I'm egotistical and stubborn, which can't possibly be true. I deny that 100%, no possible way. And but no, a lot of it also is because I am working on freelance stuff. Story Engine, the Deck of Worlds, the Kickstarter started today. It is a world building deck of cards that I'm helping Rock Paper Cynic Peter Chakowski write. I am always writing stuff for Onyx Path and developing for Onyx Path. Mummy the Curse 2nd edition is in indexing right now, so people who backed that should be getting their physical copies. Like everything Onyx Path, you can get that stuff in backer kit. But yeah, that's I don't want to go any further because I'm under NDA for a bunch of stuff, and sometimes I forget if I don't have my list in front of me. I forget what I'm not allowed to talk about.
Yeah,
sure.
Wait a minute, did you say the Story Engine? Am I looking at the right thing here? The
Deck of Worlds.
The Deck of Worlds.
It's yeah. I'll
Did that just? Oh no! This is their last one.
That was
I'm
the
looking.
original.
I'm like, that's insane. They've got 3,500 backers already.
Yeah, wow, that's insane, right? No,
yeah, crazy.
This is on Kickstarter now, and a lot of people who know me really enjoy the AbTab book, Be a Better Campaign Master.
Yeah,
it's all about building a world, and it's all like roll tables, fun ways to invent tectonic shifting and whatnot. This just excited me greatly because it's such a cool companion to something like that. So if you like world building and if you like Be a Better Campaign Master, which that's a really good world building book.
Yeah, that's also a project that's doing really well. So it appears having Barker on your Kickstarter is like the recipe for success.
That's what I'm finding.
I'm retiring today.
It'll instantly double, triple, quadruple all your numbers.
Yeah, Sean Tompkin had nothing to do with that.
That's fantastic.
It's been scientifically tested.
Yeah,
it has. Twice. Well, the scientific method. Yeah, I was going to say. Well, no, this is the third time, right? No, well, we've done a few. Oh well. So let me ask you. I know we have like 1 minute left, right? These go for an hour.
Yeah.
Or is it? Yeah.
Yeah, about an hour.
Let me ask you this, if you haven't already, Dave. What does Nerdarchy have going on?
Right now, we are on the tail end of finishing up delivering internationally to out of the box Kickstarter, so that we can get on to the next project.
Nice.
So, when we were talking earlier, and I don't know if Matt or Barker brought up like all the hard learned lessons. I think it was Barker. I think you brought up all the hard learned lessons of running a Kickstarter, and I just kept thinking to myself, do you have a pandemic plan in there somewhere now?
Are you planning for a boat to block the entire Suez Canal during this period? Oh, no, we didn't put that in our schedule.
Oh, man. Oh, did that affect you guys?
it affected everybody in one way or another, because all of the shipping lanes, no matter where something was coming from, everything started getting bottlenecked in certain places. Like butterfly flaps its wings and in the Suez Canal.
And then Godzilla fights King Kong. That's what happens. Yeah. So we actually, like he said, we experienced some of the delays, but it wasn't like our book didn't go through that canal, but backed up shipping everywhere. So everything was off and weird and had a delay. And that's not even counting the precautions that many are still taking for the pandemic. So yeah,
that captain is like the most hated guy.
I love the little meme that's like, can you imagine being the one right behind that captain and being like, I could be remembered forever. And just do it again.
Hero. A hero of the people.
Wow.
Oh, that's great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I am glad to see what Nerdarchy has coming up in the future. Out of the box was really cool. That's another great way to just get inspiration, because you can just flip it open and say, here's what we're doing tonight. And I love that kind of stuff. So
thankfully all the feedback on it's been really good. Like everyone has been super happy when they've gotten it. The only complaint has been the delays, and no one is more frustrated than us. So
oh yeah.
That's hard. Yep.
I get it. Like as a backer, like there's a project that I backed when we first started Nerdarchy. I still haven't got it. I'm pretty sure I'm never going to get it.
Oh really?
And it was for these magnetic hexagon tiles that you could dry erase right on. So you could just like put down as many as you need it, and you can like pick them up and they come up as a sheet. Yeah, it seemed cool to me too. But
yeah, that's a bummer that didn't happen.
Yeah, so the idea was like when we play in person at Ted's place, he's got a pool table that he built a top for that just that goes over top of the pool table.
Nice.
So I think I had gotten enough of them to just cover his table.
And then is it one of those where they ghosted?
It just poofed. I think it just poofed. Like, I think the dude like had an idea and started implementing it. And like you start like talking to companies and they all like, yeah, we can do that. Right. And then you find out if they can really do that or not. Right. And I feel like that's what happened.
Triple so for inventions. That's the thing that like books, writing, creative writing, like, okay, that's one thing. But if you're messing around with magnets,
something new or something,
I have
that's not
a
really
level
been
of understanding when you like set it up for the first time, you get all your proof of concept together, you did really well in the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the magnets go bloop, and you're like, oh, we're screwed. Great.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Oh, physics or something like that.
You have to set it down all the pieces
Kickstarter.
Instead of sticking together like they all shoot across the room in different directions.
Inventions. I backed magnetic what do you call it? Measuring cups a while back. And I don't think I've gotten my magnetic measuring cups. And I just always imagine it's probably because they don't work. But I don't know any of that. I don't know any of the people, and I don't want to say that, but it's just that level of understanding that you get when you run Kickstarters.
Yeah.
You get a level of empathy, maybe not necessarily, you might not be happy about it, but there's a level of empathy you get for the creator when something goes awry.
And I think people forget that, right? When they're backing Kickstarters, like, because so many people have gone to Kickstarter really is just a new way of pre-ordering something, right? But like, that's not what it was intended for. It's like someone has an idea, they want to see it made, and they're asking you to help them, right? So I kind of feel like I'm investing in the idea, not the product. But with the added benefit of it'll be nice if I get the thing as well. But you may or may not.
We hope that all of our Kickstarter successes and lessons learned and multiple Kickstarters and definitely the fulfillment of Ironsworn Starforged will remind people that, we not only are we trustworthy, but we've learned enough in the past. We've faced the trials. We have become Jedi masters at Kickstarters and deliver them.
Your
But
skill
thanks
has
for
been
having
forged.
this. Thanks for having us on today, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, like, not to be a downer or a bummer on Kickstarters, but like in like what we're doing, you guys are doing what we're doing, like making books is kind of tested and tried, right? There's not a whole lot to it. The only time with that is if when you see like someone's like, I'm going to make you a printed book and it's only going to cost us $100, then right? There might be some areas for things to go wrong there.
Right. Yeah,
Maybe
and
a pamphlet.
A pamphlet. It's a print your own. No.
Yeah.
The actually print and play stuff is really cool. But like with what Barker was saying, we did make mistakes, but I think that we handled those mistakes with communication.
Yeah.
So, we had a lot of backers vocally say, "Hey, thank you for always keeping us posted. With this delay in shipping or this," we would always get on there and say, "Hey, here's exactly where we're at and here's what we're expecting." And I think many Kickstarters could do so much more by their fans. They don't realize that they don't have to hide with the bad news. If they just tell the bad news, communicate it, and give next steps, people tend to be mostly understanding. Some people will get upset, and rightly so. But the communication that I see the lack of is kind of like, why don't you just tell people? There's some things that I've backed that are late, and people ask for the update constantly, and then 8 months later they'll be like, all right, we finished this big production thing, and it's like, why didn't you just keep me posted along the way so I know you didn't disappear with the money to the Suez Canal? Yep. So
yeah, for sure. Well, with that, we're just past the hour mark. Final remarks from either of you?
Happy birthday, Tim.
Yeah, thank you, man. And my final remark would be, take advantage of Starforged, because if you've never played, it's really simple to learn and you'll get so many hours out of it. You'll never go back.
Yeah, links are in description as always. And until next time, stay nerdy.